If I was a monkey in a monkey tree, I'd wiggle my banana till you'd fall in love with me. That's what they call the mystery of love. And if I was a dollar in a money tree, I'd wriggle like a leaf until you'd take a snatch at me. That's what they call the mystery of love. You may say I'm blushing like an orchid down in that Brazilian forest way. You may say it's horrid, but I need a love that's torrid. Won't you pluck me now and fly away? Oh, and if I was a poet in a poetry, I'd onomatopoeia till you'd wanna be with me. That's what they call the mystery of love. Well, if I was a turtle in a lovey-dovey tree, I'd build and coo you, darling, till you'd share your nest with me. That's what they call the mystery of love. You may say I'm blushing like an orchid down in that Brazilian forest way. You may say it's horrid, but I need a love that's torrid. Won't you pluck me now and fly away? Oh, if I was a chinchilla in a chinchillery, I'd shed my beautiful coat so you'd snuggle up with me. Yes, that's what they call the mystery, that ever-loving crazy history. But oh yeah, between you and me, it just might be biology, the mystery of, the philology of, the mystery of love.
To really understand the cultural meaning of the tree, you need to visit the Midwest, Kansas, Oklahoma, Nebraska, the Great American Desert. These states are not home to any of the most spectacular, beautiful, or ancient trees in the country, to say the least. In the White Mountains of California, there is a bristlecone pine that is over 4,600 years old. In Humboldt State Park, there are at least 26 coastal redwoods that are more than 360 feet tall. Every fall, Rhode Island, Vermont, Connecticut, and their neighbors are overrun by leafers from New York City, come to gawk at the fall foliage. Tourists in the American South look for antebellum mansions with oak-lined drives, crepe myrtle, and magnolias. The Department of Forestry and Central Support of Wichita, Kansas, plants and removes over 2,000 trees a year. Currently, they recommend the Mushino Colomer zelkova, a uniquely narrow cultivar, a popular and successful urban tree in Japan, because it can provide shade, accommodate traffic, and because it, quote, adds a strong visual element, a vertical design statement for parks, campuses, boulevards, and other public spaces, end quote. What does it mean that so much of the country is so busy planting trees and yet talking about it so little, taking it for granted? What does it mean that they are doing so in part for the vertical design statement a tree can bring? Wichita, Kansas, a city not suited by climate or precipitation for trees, is an urban forest. The distinction between the town and the country is here marked by the line of the forest, but the present is like a negative image of the past, as the city, the civilized world, overlaps with the forest, and the older the neighborhood, the taller the trees. They are not simple adornment. They tap into the water cycle and the carbon cycle that drives all life on this planet, and so involve the average suburban homeowner in a vast dynamic system. The forest is not a naturally occurring or spontaneous phenomenon. It is an urban forest, and we brought it here with us when we settled the country, in our hearts and minds, in our forestry, and in our love of a particular idea of the world. Understanding the cultural meaning of the tree can help illuminate all the crises of postmodern society. As a living thing, as a feature of the landscape, as a metaphor, as an object of ecological veneration, and as a tourist destination. The tree is at the heart of our society.
I attempted a similar task in the first chapter of my recent book on the French Revolution when I claimed to treat the diverse utterances of revolutionary politicians as constituting one text. The only basis for this claim was its potential fruitfulness for analysis and explanation, and the claim must stand or fall on those grounds. My aim was not to reduce revolutionary discourse to one stable system of meaning, but rather to show how political language could be used rhetorically to build a sense of community and at the same time to establish new fields of social, political, and cultural struggle, that is, to make possible unity and difference at the same time. The point of the endeavor was to examine the ways in which linguistic practice, rather than simply reflecting social reality, could actively be an instrument of or constitute power. When National Guardsmen asked, "Are you of the nation?" they were not merely trying to identify their friends in troubled times. They were actually helping to create a sense of national community.
And in a roundabout way, it was this text, and the desire to write a cultural history of the present, that led me to trees. I asked myself, what are the linguistic practices that reflect and constitute power in our society? What rhetorical devices are defining the parameters of social reality? What kind of statements, phrases, words, genres, or questions define our society? According to David Abram, ancient Greece was defined by the epic poem, an oral tradition, whose form springs from, and reproduces, a very different society than the written tradition that was to follow. Ian Watt argues that urbanization and the printing press led to the rise of the novel, reorienting the direction of narrative towards domestic life and private experience, reflecting the needs and interests of readers who, for the first time, had domestic and private lives. And for our culture, the paradigmatic cultural form is the interview, and especially the celebrity interview. As a genre, it was only created in the late 19th century, and has flowered over the last 150 years into the dominant rhetorical mode by which we understand our world. If you were a tree, what tree would you be? Here is a story that is told and retold, a legend. This account, coming from the New York Times last November. What does it mean for a society that trees are available, comprehensible, and popular as a metaphor for human beings? The tree question is valuable, both because it provides analytic entry into the contemporary discourses about nature, and because it is the perfect interview question. If you were a tree, what tree would you be? Perhaps the most perfect ever written. And as the celebrity interview is the paradigmatic form of postmodern cultural expression, my ultimate goal is to explain the relationship between the celebrity interview and the society that created it and was so created. It would be nice to interview Barbara Walters and ask her about this question and the long shadow it's cast over her career. But since she wasn't returning my calls, I did the next best thing. I interviewed Larry Patton, the Dean of Humanities and Fine Arts at Butler Community College, a man who has asked the tree question of every job applicant in his division for 25 years now.
I think everybody always gives Barbara Walters credit for it, right? But that's not where I heard it. I don't know where I heard it, but I just thought it was a great question, because I like trees, I guess. And I thought, well, that gives people an opportunity to respond to something that everybody can relate to. Well, almost everybody.
Tobacco tree, because then I could smoke cigarettes all day.
Are there actually tobacco trees?
No, they're little plants, but doesn't that count too?
No.
What? Why not?
You gotta be a tree, dude.
That's bullshit. This is a bogus documentary.
Live oak.
Japanese. Maple.
I'd be a beech tree or a ficus tree.
White pine?
I'd be a little bonsai.
California oak.
Bristlecone pine.
Maybe like a, I don't know, like a redwood or a sequoia.
I'd be a bay tree.
Why do you love a bonsai so much, girl?
Because they're just so cute, and then like you can like manicure them, and they're just cute.
A Christmas tree.
I like the cypress.
Your life would be short, but you'd be loved.
Probably one of these, a redwood.
Oh, I'd definitely be a redwood.
Aha, that's easy. A redwood.
A redwood.
I like to think of myself as an oak, but I'm probably not an oak. Because my actual tree is like Charlie Brown's Christmas tree. It's like,
I don't think I'd like to be a tree.
Well, you have to be. What if you had to be a tree?
Who has to be a tree, really?